I'm all jacked up, man. I am all jacked up.
Jacked up on what?
I'm jacked up. My sense of time has been just my brain. Like, I keep thinking that this week is Halloween. Because we did all this Halloween stuff for this week, and there's this big Halloween party on Saturday that we're going to. What kind of, I guess, next week is Halloween, and I guess my question to the universe is, like, what kind of butthole calendar puts Halloween on a fucking Wednesday, man? Like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Yeah. You Americans are really into your Halloween. I mean, does everyone just cut off work or something, skip work, and just celebrate Halloween all day? I mean, how does it work over there?
I think it'll be this weekend. I mean, as far as I know, like, over the years, I have watched Halloween become like more and more and more of a thing where people are like, oh, when I was a kid, like if you were a kid or whatever, you would be into Halloween because you got to go out and get candy, right? You buy a $10 shitty costume from the grocery store, and then you put it on and you go out and you get some fucking candy. That was the thing. But like, as I've gotten older, and especially as time has gone on, I have more and more people that I know who are just like, oh, Halloween is my favorite holiday of the year. I love to get this super complicated costumes and spend all this money on decorating my house and have a big party. And I don't know, man. Like, I got a different ideology when it comes to parties than other people. But you know what? We'll get back to that. Welcome to Rage Select, everybody. Let's just get this out of the way. I'm Jeff. Nick, say hello to the fine people out there.
Hello, fine people.
And we're doing the podcast this week. So yeah, I just want to get that. It was like looming over me like a specter. But no, there was one time like 2 or 3 years ago. My big problem with Halloween is that I'm weird when it comes to Halloween costumes. Like when
Why exactly?
Okay, well, when I have a Halloween costume, I want it to look good. I essentially want to have like a cosplay level Halloween costume. I don't want to just get some junk, or I just, we'll go to Spirit, we'll buy some, cheap wig, and then this thing, and then this thing, and I'm fucking Hulk Hogan or whatever. I don't want to do that. Like, I want to, like, last year I went for Halloween as the most interesting man in the world. It's the first time in a while that I've dressed up. But I went and got, like, a spray tan, and I went to a fine suit store and bought like a bow tie and cufflinks and a tuxedo shirt and stuff like that. And the whole thing cost me several $100s when I probably could have gotten away with it. I had a friend who's a hairdresser, spent like an hour spraying layers of gray into my hair and my beard to get that whole, thing going on. Like, I want it to be good, and the problem that I get into is I get into this kind of tizzy where I'm like, well, it's not going to be good, so just fuck it. Fuck it. I don't want a costume. I don't want, if it can't be good or great, then I don't want it. I don't want just to be like, what are you? Oh, I put on this plumber overalls and a hat. I'm Mario. Hey, it's a me. Like, I want it to be legit costume, and if I can't do that, then I'm kind of just like, fuck it. I don't.
Yeah, but here's a question though. I mean, like, was it worth it? Because you would just wear that one costume, and unless you keep wearing it year after year, you're only going to wear it once, and you've just spent several $100s.
Well, once again, yeah, that totally factors into my thinking of going like, no. So there's a part of me that just ends up going like, well, fuck it. Just fuck it, man. Just fuck it. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like 2 years ago, I haven't dressed up for Halloween in a long time because I'm just like, I'll go to the party, but I don't want to dress up. But you know what? That has bitten me in the ass because like 3 years ago, some friends of mine invited me to, and I don't know if it's the same over there, Nick. You could tell me whether this is a thing in Britain. But here in the U.S., there is a Halloween legend, right? It's an event whispered about in hushed tones and awe and stuff. It's the gay Halloween party. Ever been to the gay Halloween party?
No, tell me. What's a gay Halloween party like?
Okay, so I've never been, but I've heard, like, I have some friends who've been like, oh yeah, totally different people, totally different groups of people who's like, oh my god, dude, if you ever get invited to a Halloween party that like gay dudes are throwing, you have got to go, because those dudes will go all out. Like, they will spend hundreds of dollars just decorating the shit out of their house. They'll have, like, all this really awesome booze. Everybody's going to be super nice. They're going to invite, like, 200 people. And it's just going to be, like, the biggest party of the entire year. So, several years ago, I got invited to my friend's like, hey, these guys are having this huge Halloween blowout, the gay Halloween party. Totally, you should come. But you have to wear a costume. And I was working and doing stuff, and so the day of this party comes up, and I'm just like, I don't have a costume, man. And I it was the day before Halloween or 2 days before Halloween or something, and I made the mistake of being like, oh, you know what? I really want to go to a gay Halloween party, so I'm just going to go to... Do you guys have Halloween stores there in Britain? Like Spirit? Do you know what that is?
No, I don't think we have any shops that are just dedicated to Halloween. I mean, like, I think the closest would be some costume shops, and they'll have like a Halloween theme to it.
Well, no, but
that's
see,
really about it. Here
in the U.S., what'll happen is there's these stores that will buy or that will rent like an empty storefront place. Like, you'll have like a strip mall, and there'll be there used to be a fabric store there or something, but they shut down. So what'll happen is that these companies will come in and they'll rent that space for like 1 month. And they put up a real temporary sign, and they just fill the place with Halloween shit. It's just all the Halloween costumes that you would ever need, and they're all really cheap, and they all suck balls. But they open it for 1 month so that they could just come in, sell all this shit, and then leave. And most of these places, they'll be like, no returns. You can't return anything. We don't care if you get it home and it's fucked up. You still can't return it because people will try to buy costumes and wear them to a party and then return them 2 days later. So they're just like, no returns. So I went to one of these places right before gay Halloween party, and I was like, yeah, I'll just go down to this place. I'll find some shitty costume to wear to gay Halloween party. That place was such a circus. Like, the checkout line was so long, and the place was mobbed, and it looked like there had been a riot inside of this place. Like, just shit on the floor, broken stuff all over the place. Like, people were killing each other and eating each other. It was just messed up. And I was finally just like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm just going to get drunk and watch Ghostbusters, which is my standard Halloween thing. So, but this Saturday with this big Halloween party, and I still don't know whether I'm going to dress up or not. I don't think I'm going to because, I'm running this website. It's still a lot of work, and, But there's people coming in from out of town, and that's the problem that I have with wearing a costume is that last year, everybody loved the costume that I had so much that I feel like this year, they're going to be expecting something really good, and then I'm just going to show up.
No pressure. No pressure.
I'm just going to show up in a jeans and a T-shirt and just be like, what? What are you supposed to be? I'm a really tired website owner. That's what I am, you guys. Well, what about you, Nick? Do you have any big Halloween plans?
No, I mean, like, I was thinking of perhaps going to this event that a mate of mine, Simon, he's throwing for, like, all the London Spill members, like a Halloween party.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just debating that myself because my sister got me, like, a cool T-shirt that has, like, a face with an eye, but where the eye is, there's, like, a hole, and you can just put your iPhone in, and it has, like, the image of, like, of an eye rolling around looking at shit. So, kind of cheap, but at the same time, it looks pretty cool, so...
That's lame, Nick. I saw somebody wear one of those last year. It's lame, man.
Is it? Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, go to a Halloween party for the booze. That's what I would go for.
That's what I'm saying. So I was having a conversation with some of the folks. I think it was maybe Jason and Grant about, like I know people who get super into when they want to throw a party, especially Halloween. Halloween seems to be the worst offender of like, oh man, we got to put up all these decorations and we got to do, this stuff. And, Kayla from Sparkle Fandango, she's having this party on Saturday. It's fantastic. She's got people coming in from out of town. She's got a whole bunch of people going over there helping her set everything up. She's got people volunteer to come help tear stuff down. All of this stuff that she's putting together. And I don't know, man. I guess I'm just a lazy person at heart because I'm like, hey, I'm having a party. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I vacuumed and I got a keg. So come over and let's have a party because I don't give a shit. Get drunk. That's the activity. But she's got this. I mean, what she's doing sounds incredible. And I swear, if I had enough craftiness in me and I didn't have this horrible brain condition of like it's got to be perfect or fuck it. Like she's got a like knife throwing at balloons or something, at like blood balloons. And last year she had this karaoke thing, and she had the graveyard in her backyard, and all this crazy stuff going on. So I applaud, hey, you know what? I applaud people who put that much work into it. I'm just like, whenever I think about having a party, though, it's just like, hey, everybody, let's all go to somebody's house instead of the bar and get drunk until 4 a.m. instead of 2 a.m. That's a party right there.
I've always wanted to go to a traditional American Halloween party because I was never around in the States to really go to one. Because it sounds like you guys put as much effort into that as into Christmas.
It's weird. Americans have gotten just strange over the years about holidays. Like, I've generally watched this stuff get bigger and bigger, and at a certain point, I've started to just disengage from it entirely. Like we talked about, I talked Christmas about my parents, my sister. I usually spend Christmas with my family. I've never actually missed a Christmas. I've always spent it with my family. But, like my sister really loves to get a Christmas tree. Like, she really likes to get a live Christmas tree and set it up, decorate it with all the stuff and hanging out and whatever. And I'm just like, all I really care about is hanging out with my family. Like, we could be, there have been years where we've discussed, like, oh, we should go to Hawaii for Christmas and, like, go out on the beach and hang out, drink some island drinks and swim and stuff like that. And there was a time when my sister was very against that because she was like, it doesn't feel Christmassy. It needs to be cold, and you need to have a tree, and everybody's huddled around, drinking eggnog or booze or whatever, and stuff like that. But I'm real flexible when it comes to this sort of stuff. But there's some people that I know that just get so into the ritual of these holidays that it just rules them. Like they have, everything has to be this certain way, or else it's a terrible catastrophe. So
you don't celebrate Christmas in Texas, is what you're saying?
No.
You go somewhere a little bit colder.
No. We do generally celebrate Christmas. I mean, by the time Christmas comes around, by December in Texas, it's not, I guess people sometimes get the wrong ideas. It doesn't snow, right? It doesn't snow or ice or anything like that generally, but it tends to be, in the 40s or the 50s, which I know for you guys, you're like, oh, fucking Hawaiian shirt weather, mate.
Exactly that. You might as well be in fucking Hawaii. I mean, like, I think going to Aspen is a little bit more Christmassy than spending it in Texas.
Well, not all of us can afford to go to Aspen every year. I don't know, a timeshare. Rachel doesn't do it that good, Nick. No, I mean, it's for me, but maybe that's what it is that there have only been a few times. Like, when I was a kid, we used to go to my grandparents, my maternal grandparents' house for Christmas a lot. Oh, but they're both sets of grandparents were kind of in a similar, they were close enough you could drive from one of their house to the other. But we used to go up there, and like my maternal grandparents, they lived in Ohio, and it would snow. And like last year, I went to Ohio, and it snowed up there. And they had a, like a pine tree, like an evergreen in their front yard, and there'd be snow on the ground. My cousins would all come when I was a kid. We'd make snowballs and throw them at each other. And that, that really feels like Christmas, because when you watch TV, that's what Christmas looks like, is snow and pine trees and fucking, all these things. In Texas, of course, we don't really have, it's not like we have a switch that we could hit for snow. In fact, when it does snow, when it gets like a half inch of snow on the ground in Texas, everything shuts down, everybody freaks out. It's just the entire...
Well, yeah, you guys get like a little bit of ice on the road, and there's numbers of fatalities and car crashes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're just not prepared for it.
People are like, oh God, there's ice on the road, I better drive way faster so I can get through the... So, I mean, for me, it's Christmas is, you get the cold weather, and, you take Christmas tree and presents and all this stuff. But when I was a kid, snow rarely entered into it unless we went to Grandma's house. Last year it was funny, though, because I took my dog with me to my parents' place up in Ohio for Christmas, and he had never seen snow before, obviously, and he had a great time. He would just jump around in it. And it was funny. I loved confusing him because I would make snowballs, and then I would throw the snowball for him to fetch it, and it would go into the snow, and he would start just digging giant amounts of snow trying to find out where that ball went. It was just like, you're dumb.
Oh, you're so cruel, mate.
Oh, he is fun. He had fun. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, the Halloween's right around the corner. I don't know. We did. By the time you guys hear this, we'll probably be on the last day of the Asylum, our rebranded Halloween week for the website where we played all spooky games. But next week we're going back to normal because Batman comes out, and fuck it, I'm not preempted Batman for whatever Dead Space, whatever it is that we're playing. But. We have a very small amount of news this week, but I tell you what, let's just jump right in. So first off, Nick, did you hear the tragic news last week about Watchdogs?
Yeah, it got delayed for next year.
Yeah. Watchdogs.
Why? Just why?
My personal theory is that Ubisoft didn't want to put out Watchdogs and Assassin's Creed 4 within 2 or 3 weeks of each other or whatever that was. Because why the fuck would you do that? Why would you just let Assassin's Creed be your holiday release and carry you all the way through the holidays? But anyway, they announced delays of Watchdog and The Cruise, and apparently in response, the shares of Ubisoft dropped by 25%. After
25%, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, just because they delayed a game, they must have done that before.
Delayed two games? No, it's because it was it was probably because it was a hugely anticipated game, and it was also one of those things. I mean, when you talk to people, I don't know about you, but Watch Dogs was one of those games that I was really looking forward to getting on the new consoles. It was probably going to be one of those things that maybe drove some of the new console sales because you'd be like, yeah, look at this game that looks real good. It's got all this new stuff, and it just came out. If you're getting a new console, that would be one of those games that would be yeah, sure, I want to pick up the newer version of Watch Dogs instead of the old console version or whatever. So I don't know.
When exactly next year is it coming out now? It must be the early year.
I think it's Q1. Yeah, the Q1 of next year. They just wanted a little bit. Well, according to the news story, they want a little bit more time to polish Watch Dogs, which, I can't totally begrudge them. If they.
No, I'm all for that. To be honest. There's been way too many times a game's been released and it was tacky and a little bit shoddy. So
yeah.
Anything to make it better.
That's fine. But apparently, just looking at the story here on Joystick, and apparently also, let's see, it says, though the delay of Watch Dogs and The Crew are the comically gargantuan straws that shattered the camel's back, they're not the sole reason for Ubisoft's sudden financial woes. Rayman Legends and Splinter Cell Blacklist, two games that Ubisoft expected to sell like gangbusters, also failed to perform at retail. So, yeah, Blacklist and Rayman Legends, which, I thought Rayman Legends wasn't as tight as Rayman Origins because they tried to shoehorn in this touchpad game mechanic on the other consoles, on the PS3 and the Xbox 360. I just didn't feel like it worked really well. And then Blacklist, I don't know, did you play Splinter Cell Blacklist, Nick?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I don't see why it did badly.
I thought it was good. I just didn't think that there was anything that was there was nothing in my mind that was super standout-ish about it. It just kind of felt like another Splinter Cell game. It wasn't, the one before, what was it, Conviction? Yeah, it had that whole, Sam Fisher's not a part of the NSA anymore, and he's doing all this stuff, and that felt cool.
I agree
to
with
me.
you. I think Conviction had a way better storyline, and you were rooting for the character a lot more, because he wasn't so much of trying to stick in the shadows, he was out for blood. And he was kicking ass and taking names. I mean,
I guess spoiler, but can you even tell me what the story of Splinter Cell Blacklist was, Nick? Can you remember it? What were the bad guys in Splinter Cell Blacklist trying to do?
Were they called the Blacklist?
No.
I can't.
You didn't remember what they were called? They were called the Engineers.
Oh, yeah, what a really rememberable name that is.
And then they had the Blacklist, and that was the thing. They had they had an attack plan, right? So it was American consumption and American something, and their
greed and all that stuff. I mean, that was kind of cool. I just didn't think that their motivation was.
It wasn't very clear, right? It wasn't
no, not really.
What are you guys exactly trying to do? I mean, that part of the story was this mystery, and when you finally at the end of the game, you get fucking. I don't know what that guy's name is. All I know is he's Morris O'Brien from 24. He's Chloe's husband.
Yes, that's what he was. I was trying to remember the whole game.
Yeah.
Like who this guy was.
Like he was a cool guy, but then at the end of the game, he just gets like they do that terrible like techno thriller. He's just like super cryptic about, this is just the beginning, and you're like, the beginning of what? I don't know what the fuck is going on here, you guys. Like you engineers want to destroy a bunch of stuff, but I don't know what. So I don't know. I mean, it was a fun game, and I had a good time while I was playing it, but it's not one of the more memorable Splinter Cell games in my mind. Like, I'll always remember Chaos Theory more than I'll remember Blacklist, or even the original Pandora, or not the original wasn't Pandora Tomorrow, but even Pandora Tomorrow had an interesting, that kind of interesting thing about it. But I don't know. So yeah, Ubisoft's stock went down. I'm pretty sure that it'll go up, or that it'll go back up again as things perform. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe.
I think I've been playing too much GTA 5 where I'll be thinking, okay, now's the time to buy stocks.
You're going to buy
right now.
Like work in the actual video game stock market. I think we're going to get a news story next week of Nick drives to France to shoot the CEO of Ubisoft to depress the stock so he could buy it before the release of Assassin's Creed 4. Oh, man. All right. Like I said, real light news week this week, so I'm going to skip over some of this stuff we've only got 3 more stories here. One is the Xbox One won't support real name IDs at launch. I'm only saying this as a story because I didn't even know that this was a thing because I haven't been paying enough attention. But did you know that the PlayStation 4 is going to allow people to search for you by your real name? Like, it won't, like, you still have your online handle, right? But if somebody knows your name, Nick Hodges, and they go and they search for it, they can find your tag by typing in your name instead of having to be like, I'm sorry, what was it again? Was it I love Crumpets 652 or Crumpets for life 245? It's something with Crumpets, right? Like they could just type in your name and they can find it, but then it won't publish your name, so that if you're playing online with somebody, it's not going to be like, who's that Crumpet bastard? What's his name? I'm going to fucking go to his house type of thing.
Well, surely there's it's going to be a little bit tricky because there must be loads of Nick Hodgeses out there.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know how they're going to do that. But all I know is that the PlayStation 4 is apparently going to use that stuff at launch. The Xbox One, I just looked around a little bit. I didn't dig super deep on it, but apparently that's probably going to be implemented in a later update, but at launch it's probably not going to be there by default. We've talked about this numerous times before, but I'm starting to think that it's not completely confirmed that Sony's going to have it at launch, but it's just assumed at this point. But I'm kind of starting to think that we're starting to enter a world where I don't know. Once again, Kevin reminded me last week that I have a different take on this because I say my name and blather about the personal details of my life every week. But I'm like, we use Facebook so much with our own names and stuff that, I don't know, maybe a shift towards a little bit more transparency about knowing who, what Jason always says, Slapnut69. That's one day I was like, do you know somebody named Slapnut69 that griefed you in Halo one time? And he's like, what are you asking about? Every time you need a fake Xbox Live handle, you use the same one over and over again. So, yeah, I don't know.
The stoner inside me is thinking that this is all going 1984, but the public is willingly going onto the whole 1984 thing.
Nick, don't you live in a country that has like hundreds of thousands of CCTV cameras on every street corner just recording people all day long?
Exactly. I mean, they just announced that. We're just like, okay, cool, whatever. Shoot us.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it seems like... I was listening to another gaming podcast over the weekend, and one of the people there was like, if you're really concerned about your privacy, you should probably be the fuck off of the internet entirely anyway. But anyway, whatever. So yeah, that won't happen. I don't know. I guess it's kind of that's not really much of a news story, but like I said...
I mean, like, personally, I think it's quite cool. I like the idea of, like, finding my friends on the PlayStation Network that way, rather than calling them all up and saying, hey, mate, what's your gamer tag?
There's also some question, and I don't know, that it was real vague about the implementation of this. There was also some question about integrating about having a more robust integration of like Facebook into the Friends app on the PlayStation, so that like if you have a friend who you know has a PlayStation 4, if they like, I don't know, let Facebook have access to or let the PS4 app have access to your PlayStation information, you could just be like, hey, I want to add you, and then you just add them on Facebook, and then it just maybe I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but there's no reason why you could just add somebody on Facebook and then have that route back through an app to your PlayStation and have them already added there instead of having to go through it. I just hope that
it'll make everything more convenient, I think.
Well,
and I'm all for that.
Well, you know what I think would be even better than that is if I hope that, and we've seen some of this stuff, but I need to get my hands on it and really dig into it to know for sure. But it would be really nice this time around if the PlayStation UI did not suck balls. Because adding people, messaging people, and inviting people to multiplayer games on the PlayStation 3, like, I thought it was kind of clunky until I started using the Xbox, and then it was just like, oh, shit. No, it's garbage. It's garbage, you know, as opposed to the Xbox where you're just like, you pull up this thing, you go, hey, invite you into the game I'm playing right now. And the other person's like, yeah, sure. Boom, I'm there. Instead of like, I would like to send you an email with a request. Would you like to play Grand Theft Auto 5 with me? Like, all right, hold on. I'm already in Grand Theft Auto 5. Let me open up my email. Okay. Oh, all right, there we go. Okay, there. All right. I just hope it's a lot more seamless this time. So, all right, well, let's whip through the rest of this news because it's all garbage. In the NPD news, in September, Grand Theft Auto 5 caused a 27% boost in video game earnings this September over last September. So September of this year was $1.07 billion as opposed to $848 million last year. And most of that is attributed to Grand Theft Auto 5, continuing to show that hoochie mama, that game is selling like crazy.
Yeah. So all the guys who made Grand Theft Auto 5 are getting raises? Is that what you're saying?
No. This is just a story about how. Basically, all the story is saying to us right now is that the video game industry right now doing real good, at least for September. Like, sales haven't been depressed. We'll see what it's like over the holiday season, but I'm thinking that it's probably going to be pretty decent this year. As far as hardware and software numbers go, because there's a lot of cool new stuff coming out. But, I also like looking at the NPD charts because it shows you, or at least it's a good reminder to me, Jeff, that the things that people are buying the most of are not the things that I am playing. Because the list for September, as far as top-selling games goes, number 1, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 2, Madden NFL 25. Number 3, NBA 2K14. Number 4, Diablo 3. Number 5, FIFA 14. Number 6, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix. Number 7, Disney Infinity. Number 8, NHL. Number 9, Minecraft Xbox 360 Edition, which I assume is the boxed copy. I'm like, fuck, man, you just can't stop selling Minecraft to people. And then number 10, Saints Row 4. So... like
people are still buying Saints Row 4. How long has that game been out?
2 or 3 months, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, what else would be in that list? It's not like once Battlefield and Call of Duty come out, that list will be Battlefield, Call of Duty, and then a bunch of sports games. But it just goes to show, a lot of times when I'm doing this, I need a reminder every so often that, like, of that list, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Of that 10, almost half of those games are sports games that we don't really cover at all. Which I don't know. We're thinking about making some changes here on Rage Select to try to get some more coverage of sports games. I mean, nobody wants to watch us try to play fucking Madden because they'll just be like, "Oh my God, you're playing it totally wrong." You'd be like, "Yeah, I know we're playing it totally wrong. We don't know how to play Madden." Last year, I tried to learn how to play Madden, was just like, you have to know everything about football in order to be able to play this game, and I don't know.
I think it'd be kind of funny just to see Jason cringe and swear his nuts off at his incapability of playing the game. Last year
on over on the other website, we the only sports game we've ever recorded, we recorded WWE 13, I believe. And Jason spent the entire time talking about how gay wrestling is, and it just pissed everybody off to no end. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this again, especially like, can you imagine what Jason Murphy would have to say about FIFA 14, Nick? Seriously.
I couldn't care less, man. That's him.
Like, I tried to get him to play some stuff, and he's just like, oh, it's so boring. Like, can you imagine a soccer game or football or, I don't know, whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. We're probably going to be looking at trying to get some folks to help us out with that stuff because God only knows. I don't even know all about football in general. I couldn't even tell you the rules to hockey at this point.
No, it's fun to watch, I think, but I'm not sure if your core audience is really into like sports games religiously anyway.
Well,
I think they want to hear about Batman over the American football games coming out.
Oh yeah. We would never We would never preempt coverage of Batman or Battlefield or Assassin's Creed to look at, hey, you guys, I know Assassin's Creed 4 just came out this week, but we're going to fucking look at this football game instead that we don't know anything about for 3 excruciating hours worth of videos where we're just like, well, I don't know, make the man run, hit the pass the feet ball. I don't know. So, yeah.
That would make a great April Fool's Day joke. If a big game was coming out and you just play something that no one gives a shit about.
Nick, at this point in time, I'm kind of hesitant to even do such a thing because gamers are so fucking fickle these days that I'd be afraid of actually losing audience on my YouTube channel and on the website because people are like, where the fuck is the game that came out? Like, what is, okay, haha, yeah, haha, oh, it's April Fool's, haha. No, but really, where is it? No, really, where is it? Oh, it's actually not, oh, that's bullshit. Anyway. All right, one last story before we move on to the emails. The Wii there is no more Wii production in Japan. Nintendo of Japan has listed the Wii as discontinued. They are not producing any more of the consoles, and so essentially at this point, the consoles that are in the stores are the consoles that are remaining in Japan, and they will not be producing any more at this point.
Is that just in Japan, or is this going to be worldwide as well?
No, it's in Japan. There's another story that was related to this that was talking about how the Wii will. It said once again on Joystick, the Wii will be available in the U.S. as usual this year. Nintendo of America confirmed. Yesterday, Nintendo of Japan announced that it would discontinue production of the Wii, but the worldwide implications of the stoppage were unclear. The announcement, this is a quote, the announcement that the Wii console has been discontinued is specific to Japan. There is no change in the status of the Wii in the United States, and it is available for purchase this holiday season. I think that, I don't know. To me, this just smacks of like Nintendo wants you to buy a Wii U if you want to get something. So the Wii has been around forever.
It's not going to be that tricky to get one. I think you could still get a PlayStation 2 today, so you'll be able to get a Wii.
Yeah, and they shut down production on PlayStation 2 a while back. It's just it's basically the way that they do it is, for console swaps, they don't take the shit off of shelves. They just stop producing them, and then you've got, once sales have slowed down enough, then they're there, and you have people buying one or two, every so often until they finally are just out of stock. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting though. That this news was specific to Japan because as far as I know, the Wii sells like fucking bananas in Japan. It's but then again, I haven't looked at console sales numbers in a while, so
Is the Wii U performing really well in Japan?
Not that I know of. I haven't checked in on it. Let's see, Wii U sales data. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything that like really is concrete here that I can point to, but the kind of the common knowledge at this point seems to be it's not doing as well as the Wii did. They are doing a price drop on it. We had that story a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, where they said they're doing a price drop, and then they're not offering any kind of like ambassador program like they did with the 3DS. So they're cutting the price fit, trying to get people to buy it. I honestly I'm going to go back to what I've been saying the entire time about the Wii U. Is I don't necessarily even think the Wii U is a bad console or anything. It's just that the Wii U was launched at the wrong time, and in the time that they had, like I feel like. I've said this a whole bunch of times, and Nick, we've talked about this before, but I feel like when the Wii U was launched, if the Wii U had hit the ground fucking just like top speed, Like every new game that comes out, and you know, the AAA games have been coming out for the Wii U. Like last time we did the story, somebody jumped all over my ass about, well, you know, Wii U games. There have been AAA Wii U games, but you know, there are games that are coming out for PS3, Xbox 360, and Wii U. But if I was the Wii U, I would have like shanked a grandma and paid off whoever I could to make sure the Wii U version of every game that came out was the best looking version of that game, and that it was always at the front of retailer stuff with all of that information on it. See if you can pay people to do extra content that's specific to the Wii U. Really take advantage of that screen and really just like push the shit out of that console in the 1 year that it was out. Because we're approaching the 1 year anniversary, right, of the Wii U. It came out around the holidays of last year. So, but I feel like they just kind of, they put it out. They kind of expected it to do what the Wii did, and that there were people who were just confused about what it was and what it was supposed to do, and why do I need one, and is it just the pad or is it a whole new thing? So I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people felt uncertain about it, and I'm pretty much not exactly that surprised that it didn't perform as well as was expected to.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad console. It's just that I guess when I got it, I used it. I just spent a lot of time. Whenever I hook up my Wii U, I spend a lot of time going, yeah, this is fine, but I can play this game on my 360 or my PS3 or PC at this point. You know, I've got a lot of reasons to play this on other consoles, and for the most part, the integration of the gamepad on the Wii U just to me feels clunky, and I don't really like it all that much. Now that could definitely be the sort of thing where I've never been forced to play, but see, that's not even true. I was going to say I've never been forced to play a Wii U game to get used to it, but I have. I played Zombie U all the way to the end. I played a whole bunch of Super Mario Brothers U. I played a bunch of Scribblenauts and stuff like that, and it works fine. It's just that I'm a little bit leery about the whole second screen experience, Nick, because anything that breaks your immersion in your line of sight with the television, it just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, I think Zombie U is the only game I actually know of the Wii U. I mean, like, I'm not exactly a Nintendo fan these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was when I was younger, but yeah, that's really about it. I don't think they hit the mass audience that they would probably prefer to reel in.
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you still have that Wii U?
Yeah. Got a Wii U.
And it's just collecting dust sitting on that shelf?
Oh, no, I mean, we plugged it in. We plugged it in when we played Wonderful 101. We plugged it in when we played... I think the last game that we played on it was the Marvel or the DC Scribblenauts Unmasked. That was a Scribblenauts DC game. And I've kind of been interested in getting the Wind Waker HD remake. You know, did you know about that? They took it and they up-resed the Wind Waker and they made some adjustments to it to make it easier and groovier to play. So I've been thinking about doing that. It's just the main thing is... the main problem that I'm having right now is the fact that I just got a new gaming PC and I've been installing every game that I own on it and playing it because it looks fucking gorgeous. So I'm starting to get that horrible syndrome where when I look at console games now, you know what? It's like a terrible zombie bite, right? As I'm slowly transforming into one of those people who's just like, you should just play it on the PC. Nick, I don't know why people have consoles. You just play it on the PC. It looks so much better on the PC.
Turning into a PC hipster, pretty much.
Right. And I don't want to make it, you know, I don't want to make that statement like that statement is bullshit, because that statement is not bullshit. If you have a PC and the money to spend on it to run a game on the PC and jack up all the screen settings on it, yeah, it looks better. Like, that's just how it is. Now, do you absolutely...
Hey, dude, like, I've got nothing against PC hipsters. I much prefer a PC hipster to a Mac hipster. For some reason, they annoy me the most.
Well, you know, if you play video games, why would you have a Mac? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, you know, this like it's funny. This in the release season, we've got Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Call of Duty, Battlefield, Batman, Assassin's Creed 4 all coming out where they're coming out for well, not Batman, but the other three. They're coming out for the previous generation consoles and the PC, and then they're coming out later for the next generation consoles. And so for a while there, I was like, well, what are we going to do here? Are we going to capture it on the old consoles, and then when it comes out on the new consoles, do a second dojo video for it? But then I was like, no, we're just going to buy it on the PC and jack up all the settings, and then it'll just look good no matter what. Fuck it. But yeah, I don't know. Wii U, I'm still interested to know, if there's a point where it's going to be like, is there ever going to be a point where we consider the Wii U to be like a financial failure? I don't know. And especially, I'm curious to see exactly what it does next year as opposed to this year, because this year it was kind of, but next year, they really got to put their money where their mouth is, or else it's going to be kind of like, yeah, who wants that thing anymore? I don't know.
I think do you think they might have gone complacent with how well the Wii originally did? And they just expected the Wii U to perform just as well?
Well, okay, here's the thing. There's somebody in the comments last time we talked about some Nintendo stuff. Oh, Nintendo. Just I talked about Nintendo Direct, where they were like, everybody thinks it's fun to dump on Nintendo.
Because it is. It is pretty much. It's pretty fun.
There's
they were at the top of their game for years, man. It's okay to poke a little fun.
There's two things. You know what Nintendo strikes me as? Nintendo strikes me as an incredibly Japanese company. In that they have done a lot of times they will find a niche and they will fill it, but it doesn't. But they don't change directions or address trends very well, in my opinion. Like the way that, I don't know if you know this, Nick, but do you know that, like, okay, so if you bought a DSi or a 3DS or something like that, and you bought stuff off the Nintendo eShop, right? So you bought little games or, whatever off the eShop. You download them onto your 3DS and you're playing it or whatever. And then your 3DS breaks. Nintendo's messaging for how you get back those games that you had on your 3DS is kind of shitty, because it's not like you have a Nintendo ID that you just then plug into your new DS and then it's like, okay, here's all your games, just go download them again. At least not the last time that I checked. It's like those games are tied to that physical game unit. And so you can send that game unit in to get it fixed and see if they can recover your games off of it. But that some of the messaging from them is just like, well, yeah, you just buy the games all over again, right? Or the fact that your user account on the Wii U is kind of tied to that Wii U, and it's not the sort of thing where you can log in other places. I mean, it feels kind of backwards to me. That, and when it comes to Nintendo games, I feel like I've said this. I need to stop saying that I've said this before. I've said everything before. I've literally said every word. You guys,
might as well.
You go back through the podcast. You just make me say whatever you want to. You can stitch together whatever words you want. Make me say whatever dumb shit you feel like. But then I feel like with Nintendo, there's a timeline. At least for me, this is the way that it seems, where you initially are introduced to Nintendo. And a lot of times it happens when you're younger. It doesn't have to be, but a lot of times it happens when you're younger. And I've heard this story from a lot of different people, where you're introduced to Nintendo, you're introduced to Mario, you're introduced to Kirby, and you're introduced to, Metroid and all the beloved Nintendo properties. And it's great. And you're like, yeah, this is awesome. You play all those games for the first time, and Zelda, you're just like, oh my God, this is so awesome. And then a few years later, Nintendo kind of releases new versions of those games that are essentially the same thing, because please let us not
deviate from the path.
Well, no, let us not be fooled here. Nintendo makes the same game over and over again a lot of the time. They are not risk takers. They don't say, Super Mario RPG was interesting, but for the most part, when you buy a Mario game, Mario's running around, jumping on stuff, rescuing Princess Peach from Bowser. Link, he's getting the Triforce. Kirby, I don't even know what Kirby does, but they don't tend to take a lot of chances with theirs, so you end up playing the same game over and over again. And then for me and a lot of the people that I know, at a certain point, we just lost interest in playing that game again. Like, the minute changes that you've made to that game are not enough to get me reinterested in playing Zelda again, because you're Link, you're collecting the Triforce, Princess Zelda, There's going to be a bunch of different caves. You're probably going to get a boomerang. You're probably going to get a bow and arrow. You're probably going to get some bombs at some point. Like, I'm not saying they have to completely reinvent the wheel from the ground up, but Nintendo seems to be able to get away with remaking these very, very similar games over and over again, and people aggressively defend them. If you try to criticize them for it, they're just like, oh, you just don't like fun, and you're a robot from the future sent to destroy mankind. And like, oh no, they found me out. Shit. So that's
they kind of remind me of like a pop group from the late 90s or something. They just haven't changed with the times. They kept with their traditional audience that loved them way back then, but they haven't roped in any new ones.
No, see, the thing is that I feel like their audience shifts. That as time goes on, eventually people get kind of tired of playing the same Nintendo game over and over and over again, and so they're like,
no, you have some hardcore Nintendo fans out there that have been with them since the beginning.
Absolutely. But see, you know what? That's another one of the things that where my point of view is maybe different than some other people's point of view. And I'm not trying to say that everybody who listens to the show is young people, because I know there's plenty of people who are older and plenty of people who are my same age who listen to the show. But the thing is that when I talk about playing the same Zelda game, Nick, where you get the Triforce and you rescue Zelda, I've been doing that since I was 10 years old. That's 25 years of playing the same Zelda game. I played Legend of Zelda. I played A Link to the Past. I played Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link. I played the Zelda on the original Game Boy. I skipped the N64, and then when I came back, it was... what was the one on the GameCube? It was Wind Waker, and then it was Twilight Princess, and it was Skyward Sword, and the only game in the Zelda series that's had even remotely a little bit of craziness to it recently was the Minish Cap, which was a Game Boy Advance game that came out several years ago. So it's not necessarily that I think that like Zelda games that come out are bad. It's just I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over again. It's the same reason that people get fatigued with like Call of Duty and stuff like that. But once again, I started doing that shit when I was fucking 10 years old. Like, I've done it a lot. I'm not interested in really doing it again. But
hey, kudos to them for like hanging on for so long, because most franchises, they run their course and then they just stop entirely and they start off with something new.
Yeah,
I mean, with Nintendo, they've been hanging in there since the 90s.
I mean, I honestly, if you want to you want to just take the, like, you just say, let's spitball here. Like, I'd love to see a Legend of Zelda game that was more like a JRPG structure, where the battles were, or maybe turn-based battles, maybe not, or maybe like a Legend of Zelda game that was, and stick with me here, I'm going to explain what I'm talking about, that was more like Mass Effect, where instead of we've done the lone hero on a quest to save the world type of thing, wouldn't it be more awesome if they like tripled the size of the Zelda world and had you create a team of adventurers that where it's like Link and then maybe Zelda as what's her face, as the ninja or whatever from Ocarina of Time, or that whole segment of Zelda is like weirdly, I don't know a lot about it, but maybe Ganondorf. Maybe there's a new threat. You've got to put Ganon on your side, and you've got like a hub, and you go out and you do quests. Maybe do it a little bit more. Get yourself a real big upgrade system. Maybe have a bigger world that you could fly around on a clockwork pterodactyl. I don't know, pick something, and just something that was more than the same thing over and over again. Maybe start the game with you rescuing the Triforce, but then the Triforce doesn't work anymore. Like, it's been depowered, and it won't work to save the world because there's a new threat. So maybe you do that and just change up the formula a little bit so that we've got a game that a game that has all the trappings of Zelda, but it's not the same game that we've played before. No dungeons this time. Or maybe 2 or 3 dungeons and not 12 different dungeons, that each dungeon requires you to go to the dungeon, then you got to get the big key, and then you got to go to the chest, and then you get the boomerang, and, oh, look, I need the boomerang to finish this dungeon. And we're going to go, so we're going to find this boss. This boss requires the boomerang to beat. Maybe just take the trappings of Zelda and the storytelling, and there's a lot of the stuff that people like about it, and apply it to a slightly different style of video game so that you have something where you can really tell a more beefy story than previously. I don't know. Just when I was talking about that, I was like, I play that game. That game sounds badass.
Yeah, I would as well. And I'm not even a Zelda fan.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like I'm saying some people will take that when I say let's do something different to be like, oh yeah, you just want Zelda kart racing, or oh, you just want Call of Duty but with Zelda instead of the military. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. But there's plenty of different.
I would actually play that Call of Zelda. That'd be quite fun.
Call of Zelda, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a class-based multiplayer shooter where everybody plays as Link, and it's I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just think I wish that they would do something a little bit different. Or actually, no, I wish they would do something a lot different. That's the problem that I have with Nintendo. It's not that the new Mario game that comes out looks pretty cool, the Super Mario 3D Land on the Wii U or whatever, where you've got a cat suit and there's multiple Marios and there's stuff. But at the end of the day, like Mario's an interesting character, or it could be an interesting character if you made a much more story-driven thing where I ended up caring more about Mario than just like, oh, help me, I've been kidnapped. Like, well, I guess I better jump on a million mushrooms. Well, that's not what Mario sounds like. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. Whatever. We'll see how it goes. I mean, there's a new Zelda coming out for the 3DS in November, and we can't actually do anything with that. But once again, it's set in the world of A Link to the Past, apparently, or something like that. And like, why backtrack? Make a new thing. Anyway, I rambled on about Zelda long enough. It's kind of a sore point to me, just because people are like, "Why don't you like Zelda?" And I'm like, "Dude, I do. I'm just sick of it." But let's take some emails. We got a lot of emails to get through this week, so let's not stand on ceremony here, Nick. Let's go. And I've gotten all caffeinated up today, so you need to tell me to shut up from time to time so you can talk more. I feel like I'm just going on.
I was just letting you go on. I was quite interested. So.
All right, our first question is from Sam, and Sam says, "Greeting, Rage Tenders. You guys are awesome, but you know it, so we won't dwell on that."
Is that what you call yourselves now, the Rage Tenders?
No.
Or is that just a name from the fans?
That's an amalgamation that he made up between the two, the bartenders and
yeah.
I prefer the term Supreme Overlord of Earth. That's generally how I ask people to address me, but they don't listen for some reason. They also won't bow. I don't know what's up with that. All right, so Sam says, just listen to your Beyond Two Souls review, which looks like it's more fun to watch than play. There's a 2-hour video on YouTube of someone going through Portal 2, and sometimes I have that on to listen to while at work. Sometimes I watch my favorite scenes from Borderlands 2 or Saints Row, all games I own and which are fun to play. Do you think that if people just watch the YouTube version of Beyond Two Souls or Last of Us, especially if they don't have a console, do you think there's still any reason to play/buy those games? And would that eventually lead to developers sending you guys cease and desist orders? Sorry for the lost grim question. I don't know what that means. Rage on. Best wishes, Sam.
I really don't think that they would send you a cease and desist order since everyone is doing it.
I'll
be honest. I was watching some Let's Plays of Beyond Two Souls, and I went out and got myself the game anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, I only watched just a little bit so I can get a gist of what the game was actually like. Well, and the fact that it has different endings and stuff, makes it even more reason to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Sam, never forget that one of the reasons why video games are so much more popular than just say straight up movies is because the interactivity of a video game tends to amp up your immersion in it because you have direct control of the fate of the characters on the screen. I would say maybe a little bit less with Beyond Two Souls and more with The Last of Us, because I've actually heard of videos of Beyond Two Souls where they show the same sequence and they show you just whiffing all of the combat, and the exact same thing happens anyway, that you don't really have a choice there. But like in The Last of Us, there is a sense of accomplishment at beating a level, at playing a game and getting one over. I mean, I feel like that's one of the reasons that we all play video games, right? Is because there's a sense of accomplishment when you're in direct control and the fate of that character is in your hands. I feel like there's more of a sense of accomplishment than there is if you just watch somebody play the game, because you have control, and the difference between success and failure is what you, the player, do. So by watching that stuff, I mean, yeah, you'll see the story, but I feel like some of the some of the reasons to play the game gets a little bit muddy because you're not. I mean, you're not in direct control as far as the developers sending us cease and desist orders. I doubt that is going to happen for a couple of different reasons. One, we don't play all the way through games on the air, and so that is one of the reasons that we don't do that is because we want to give you guys the first hour or so of a game, or sometimes 30 minutes of a game, and let you see what it's about. It's not necessarily about showing you the entire game. And when we do decide to play all the way through a game, we tend to pick older games, and that's one of the reasons that we do pick older games. So, like, right now we're playing through Batman Arkham Asylum because chances are nobody is going to not buy Batman Arkham Asylum because they're just going to watch us play it, right? Everybody who's going to buy that game has already purchased it and already played it.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, with the Beyond Two Souls thing, like, I agree that it's not as immersive as, let's say, The Last of Us, but I think what helps it out is the really good story it has. I mean, if it didn't have such a good story, then I probably would hate it.
Yeah.
Or at least not like it as much. But that you're playing it really just for the story. Although there's one quiff I have with that game, is that why is it that every single male in that video game wants to rape Ellen Page?
Oh.
I mean, is that just me, or does it feel like every guy in that game's a fucking douchebag? Like, she can't go out anywhere without someone trying to molest her or something.
I gotta tell you, we had it on the Dojo episode. The turn that those douchebag teenagers take at that party was just like, whoa.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, one, where did that come from? Two, who the fuck locks somebody under the stairs in a closet? Like, that's fucked up, man. Like, that sort of thing, like, if that happened to a teenager these days, they'd whip out their cell phone and call the cops and be like, yeah, I want to press charges against the assholes who burned me with a cigarette and then shoved me and locked me in a dark room, because that's like assault, and people don't put up with that anymore.
Well, you have to admit that these teenagers are really stupid. The fact that they take someone, lock them in the cellar, when they know that person has telekinetic powers and stuff.
Right.
You know, like, how dumb are you to, like, it's like you prodding Bruce Banner with with a stick, trying to get him to turn into the Hulk.
Right. No, but I mean, as far as this guy's question goes, I would like to say, though, that I don't necessarily want to condemn people who want to watch an entire video game on YouTube, but you know what? Like, in a lot of times, that the companies that made those video games, they put a lot of money into it, and they don't really get any money when you watch the entire story on YouTube. Now, me personally, I don't normally do that. Like, I'll watch trailers, and sometimes I'll watch a Let's Play, and I'll skip through it just to see what a game is like if we want to play it. But, like, for me personally, I find so much enjoyment in the interactive aspect of video games that I would much rather play the game myself. And I realize that some of this is probably like, we had a lot of people when Beyond Two Souls came out that were just like, I don't have a PlayStation 3. I can't afford to buy one. Everybody keeps talking about this game. I'd love to see it. So the only way that I really have to look at it is to watch Let's Plays on YouTube. And I understand that. But I think that whenever possible, I think that my advice would probably be, if you can play the game, I would play the game first before watching it on YouTube, because nothing, I don't know, this is something I've gone round and round over the last 6 months with people that I know and people on the site and stuff about, but in my mind, there is no greater enjoyment to be had in a video game than the discovery of what that game is and how it plays and stuff like that. And if you've already watched it, you've seen the story turns and the spoilers and stuff, there's a synthesis where you're just of discovery and action and engagement in the story that happens all at the same time. The first time you play a game that hasn't been spoiled, that is beautiful. And so taking away any one part of that experience is just going to lessen that experience. For me, some people, it's not a problem. Some people can find out what happens at the end of The Usual Suspects, and they still watch the movie, and they have just as big a time for it. But like me, I love in movies, in TV shows, and video games when you hit that moment and you're just like, oh shit, what? I did not see that coming. What the fuck? So, all right. Our next question is from Daniel. Daniel says, hey guys, simple question. I kind of slipped into Borat there for a second. Do you think that proper video game schools / classes are bullshit, or do you think they can legitimately prepare someone for the industry? Thanks and take care, Daniel.
That's a good question. I have no idea.
You no idea? I used to know a guy who went to Full Sail. Do you know what that is?
No, what's that?
It's like a video game university they have down in Florida. They teach you kind of everything that you need to know to make a video game. And he said he did that. This is years ago, though. This is like maybe 7 or 8 years ago, my time, that I knew this guy. And he said he went there. He went there like 5 years before that. So we're talking about like 10, 15 years ago. He went there and got out and said, that was horse shit and a total waste of my money. I wish I'd never gone because just having like a degree in video gameology, or I don't even know what they would call it, doesn't guarantee
it's probably not going to get you a career.
Well,
yeah. But I think it's like that with lots of college degrees at the moment.
I mean,
like, how hard it is for graduates to find work. I mean, I should fucking know from personal experience.
Yeah, I think that if you want to get a job in the video game industry, there are a few different ways that you could probably go about it. One is if you do want to take classes. The first class it depends on what you want to do in the video game industry. Like if you want to do modeling, like 3D modeling or something like that, like taking an art class is good. If you want to do systems programming and development, that's good. If you want, the main thing to remember is that when you just say like, I want to make video games for a living, I think that the first thing you need to do is narrow down what you're talking about. It'd be like saying, I want to make a movie. You say, well, are you going to make the entire thing by yourself, or are you going to get a cameraman? Are you going to get a sound person? Are you going to get an editor? Are you going to get a special effects person? Are you going to get talent or location scout? You're going to get costumer designers. Like, there's a lot of different moving parts that go into these things. Same is true with video games. You've got coding and QA and modeling and code, and if you got like net code, you've got writing, yeah, PR submissions. All this stuff goes into making a video game, and there have been places out there where people make a game on their own. Like if you want to try doing all that by yourself, or a lot of times I seem to see people who are like they'll teach themselves like how to code, and they'll do all the writing for it, then they'll hire somebody else to do like the art or whatever. But to be honest, I would say for anybody who wants to make a video game, we've talked about this a few times, but for anybody who wants to make a video game, my advice is go get something like Game Salad or RPG Maker or something like that, and make yourself a small video game. Like, tell yourself, I'm going to make a video game that takes, say, 30 minutes to play, and it's going to have 4 characters. It's going to be about where are we going to eat tonight, and it's going to be a clever little take. It's all dialogue based on where are we going to go out to eat tonight, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to see how long does it take me on my own to make a 30-minute video game that is about where are we going to go eat tonight, and then go through that process and just see at the end of it what you got, and then show it to people and be like, what do you think about this, and see what happens. I would say start with that because, quite frankly, I feel like some people have ideas of how the video game industry works that are not realistic. I mean, I've seen crunch time with people sleeping under their desks, and I've seen people working on the weekends every weekend trying to get code done, and some of it's not glamorous. It's just do
you think video game companies hire based on education, like your college experience, or do you think it's more on your actual work experience of what you can do?
I think it probably depends on the company. I think there's probably companies. I have no idea. I mean, here I am talking directly out my ass, but if it's anything like your normal, just overall business industry, I would probably be willing to bet that there are some companies, probably bigger companies like EA or Ubisoft or Activision, probably require you to have a degree in something, whether it's art or code or writing or something like that. And most of them will probably require you to have a degree and 2 years worth of experience and a portfolio before you can do anything, which is why you'll probably start interning. But you know what? The other thing to tell Daniel here is that when I worked at Sony Online Entertainment, they had a program where you could start out as a QA person, and then when you got to know a game, you could do these kind of like volunteer there were ways to transition from QA into low-level coding or low-level programming where you aren't writing the backbone of the game, but you're doing kind of the grunt work of like, all right, I need you to put together this space and populate it with enemies. Like, and you're not writing the way that the bullets work or the way the netcode is or the way the graphics are rendered. You're doing the work of taking this engine builder and then putting shit together. So there's got to be internships and QA roads out there that'll get you in there. But in my mind, the only thing I could tell anybody from my experience in doing all this stuff, or from my art experience, from making a website experience, is that if you want to do that thing, do that thing. And do it regardless of whether you're getting paid for it, and do it regardless of whether anybody is going to acknowledge you, because a lot of times they're not going to. You just have to do it. So if you want to make video games, the first thing that you should be doing is making motherfucking video games. Whether they're good or whether anybody plays them or whether anybody even sees them, there is nothing that's going to make you a better person who makes video games than building video games yourself.
This will probably help you get work anyway, because you could always tell other people to look at your website or blog or whatever where you've posted up your short flash video games or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, at this particular time, it's a better time than ever to be an independent game developer, because you could set up a website and you could set up a PayPal thing where you say, "Hey, this game is $2." Like, and I mean, we have a PayPal. I've had to set up a bunch of payment systems for running Rage Select for us selling T-shirts, stuff like that. It has never been easier, at least in my opinion, to set up a website to sell somebody a thing. Now, it's not it's not the most simple thing in the world because you're still handling money, but PayPal helps out a lot. And there are already probably tutorials out there that'll tell you how to do stuff. There's apps that you can use through Google, through various middleware places where you can set up, pay me this amount and then download this thing, and then you have my game. So if you start there and it becomes a thing and people like it, maybe you get enough money to submit it to Steam Greenlight, see if Steam Greenlight likes it or maybe not. Maybe you need to go back and work on it some more. Get it on Steam, then maybe somebody will notice you on Steam, and they'll be like, oh, that game is interesting. Or at least then if people ask you, if you go to interview for a job at a game company and they say, what have you done? You could be like, oh, do you remember Space Weasels? I totally made Space Weasels. And, oh, yeah, I played that on Steam. It was cool. Have you played Cookie Clicker, Nick?
No. Is that a real one?
Cookie Clicker is a Flash-based a game where you start with this button and you click on it and you get cookies. And then you use those cookies to buy... you start out by having every click you make on this thing, a new cookie comes in. And then you start by buying little... fake pointers that'll click this thing for you and make more cookies, and then all you do is you just build up cookies, and then you buy grandmas, and the grandmas bake cookies for you even faster than the little things do, and then you buy a cookie farm, and the cookie farms will produce cookies even faster. It's just basically about how many cookies can you produce. I keep seeing stories about Cookie Clicker out there, which goes to show that it doesn't have to be the world's greatest game, and it doesn't even have to be it. I mean, the Cookie Clicker is barely a video game. It's just making cookies. And it's going around. It's pretty popular. So, all right, let's move on. I get next email here is from Joseph. Joseph says, "Good day to you, Jeff and Nick. I'm a long-time fan of you guys ever since the beginning. I'm enjoying the new site. Is easily my new favorite website on all of the interwebs. Yay! Hooray! My question is, Jeff, since you've been working a long time with computers, PCs in general, I was wondering what are some initial warning signs I should look out for that my PC is going to fail. I have a home-built PC with an i7, GeForce 560, 12 gigs of memory. Okay, yeah, your computer's better than mine. Fine, Joseph. 2 SSDs and a mechanical hard drive. Put a lot of money into my machine that I've been using for close to 2 years now, and I want to know what are ways I can properly take care of my hardware and look out for early warning signs that one of my components is going to die. Thanks for answering my question. Stay classy, Joseph. All right, I gotta answer this one real fast. Joseph, there's like 3 things that I would say that you're probably going to need to keep an eye on. Or no, 2 big things. Everything else is incidental and it'll happen random failures. Heat and hard drives. First off, You don't have to do it all the time. You don't have to be extra vigilant about it, but make sure that your heat sinks and the fans on your system are clear of dust. Nothing will kill a gaming PC faster than a clogged vent because the heat stays inside and just burns up the components. So every so often...
You can get like one of those air cans or something to shoot the dust out, can't you?
That's what I'd suggest. Every month or two, maybe shut down your PC, take it outside, get a can of compressed air, blow out the vents, keep it working fine. Don't use a vacuum cleaner. Don't do that. There's static in a vacuum cleaner. You could end up damaging components, at least as far as I've heard. It's easier just to use compressed air. Second is hard drive failure, which is probably the most common on laptops, not as much on desktops. But if you really want to be, righteous about it, you're never going to be able to stop hard drive failure from happening. But what you can do is just make sure that you back up your data. So, in fact, you want to hear a terrible story, Nick?
Yes, please.
This weekend, I was moving some stuff around, and the external hard drive where I keep everything that is Rage Select fell about a foot and hit the ground and is now destroyed.
Wait, you can't recover anything from it?
I'm going to have to take it to a forensic data recovery center where they either replace the actual physical mechanics or they crack open the platters and try to read the data directly off of the drive heads. I know how to mess with laptops. Or how to mess with hard drives. I did data recovery for years, and this is one of those ones where it's like either the motor inside or the drive arm is damaged. So it's possible that a new electronics board might be able to interface with it, or it's possible they might have to do some minor mechanical repairs, or it's possible that data could just be totally gone. Just.
Wait, it wasn't just on that hard drive, was it? Like you did back it up elsewhere?
Yep, it was just on that hard drive.
Oh shit! I'm sorry, mate.
Well, we've got basically what we've lost at this point. I still have all the art and the thumbnail stuff and all that junk on another computer, but what we basically are missing at this point is just the archives of the videos from the website. And you can download those off of YouTube if you want. It's a shitty quality, but I'm going to probably try to dump some money into getting some data recovery on that hard drive. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. To everybody who owns a computer, if you care about it and it's only on one hard drive, you're a fool. Back it up. Put it on another hard drive. Other hard drives are cheap. Do something. Burn a CD. Don't put it on a USB key. Those things are really volatile. But get an online backup thing. Upload it to Google Drive or, I don't know, something. All right. Next question comes in from the Illegal Swede. Illegal Swede emails all the time. He's never actually told us why he's so illegal. He says, "Hey guys, Illegal Swede here. Haven't emailed for a while, mainly because I haven't thought of a good question. But I've got one now. I recently finished watching Breaking Bad. Awesome show. Can't believe I didn't get into it sooner. And I wondered whether a video game or a video game series would benefit from having a protagonist whose motivations are initially relatable, but becomes less sympathetic and more corrupted as the plot continues, like Walter White."
Oh, I would so want a game to be like that. That'd be fantastic.
Do you think it could be accomplished with an existing property, a whole new IP, or whether it's an awful idea? Thanks, guys. Love the site. The direction it's taking. P.S. When are you guys doing the GTA multiplayer event? That's probably going to be next week. Just FYI. So, yeah. I don't know. That's just like grown-up storytelling, right? We could do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about Mass Effect now. If there was a game where you had a goody two-shoes good guy from the very beginning, and then he's just forced into these impossible situations where he's had to make all these, rash decisions, based on the moment, and then you relate less to him, but you're still interested as to what's going on. I think that would be fantastic.
There is a video game that kind of does that already.
Yeah, what's that?
You know what it is. What is it, Nick? Come on. You know what it is. Search your heart. You know it to be true.
No, I can't think off the top of my head.
Fucking Metal Gear, man.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, Big Boss is the villain in Metal Gear 1 and 2. He is, and he is also the villain. I mean, even though he's like supposedly at that point in the series dead, there's going to be a few spoilers for Metal Gear games here, you guys. Just FYI, most of you probably don't give a shit, and those that do can skip forward a few minutes. But in Metal Gear 1, it was like kind of the shadow of Big Boss was there in the form of Liquid trying to carry out Big Boss's final wishes. But in Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid-ish, Big Boss was a bad guy. Solid Snake broke into Outer Heaven, and when it turned out that his handler, Big Boss, was actually the guy who created Outer Heaven, he killed him in a showdown. And then in the second game, Big Boss shows back up, and he kills him a second time. And then the game franchise goes back to Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, where they show Big Boss, when he is Naked Snake, as a kind of a fresh-faced, starry-eyed, like, idealist. I mean, never, like, he's not like, well, gee, Willikers, we should totally go rescue those guys. No, I mean, but he's like, in the beginning, Boss treats him kind of like a child and says that he doesn't really know anything about the world. And over the course of Metal Gear Solid 3, he sees how the government has used the Boss to their own end and becomes disillusioned with the way that the military works, and so he strikes out on his own to create Military Sans Frontiers, and that is what mutates into the PMC Outer Heaven, which is essentially, in Metal Gear, in the original Metal Gear game, you are walking around Outer Heaven killing off those guys that you're recruiting, well, ostensibly that you're recruiting in Peace Walker, I don't know, maybe in Phantom Pain. So yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that I love the Metal Gear series, is because Big Boss as a character has gone from a yes sir, I'll do whatever you guys tell me protagonist to really questioning what it means to be a soldier in duty and all that kind of stuff. So that's the closest thing that I can think of in a video game that has got to that.
Yeah, well, for me the problem with that is that they started with Metal Gear 1 and he was already the antagonist straight away. If it was like a more of a progressive kind of thing where you start off from the very beginning, you stick with that one character, and then he makes more and more ill-informed decisions down the line, and you see him becoming evil. Like, I never really thought his Big Boss as being truly evil. He just had his own agenda that doesn't go with Solid Snake's ideals.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's not exactly the same thing as Breaking Bad, although I wonder about what the game would... there's two things. I wonder, first of all, what it would look like if you played Metal Gear in chronological order instead of playing it in the series order. If you played it, what would it be? 3, Portable Ops, Peace Walker, Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 4, I guess would be the way you would play it. How that would make it look. But it's not exactly the same as Walter White in the fact that in Metal Gear Solid 4, he shows back up to talk about how it was all it was a big master plan. But
I mean, the great thing about Breaking Bad is that you had all of your, diehard Walter White supporters, but it came to a point, even at the very end of the show, where they were like, yeah, even I have to admit that he was going too far in that particular episode. I mean, that's what I want to see in a video game.
Spec Ops: The Line kind of was like that a little bit, where you have the character, I don't remember the character's name, but the main character in that game, where they come into this fucked up situation, and then as the game goes on and you see more and more horror and more destruction and savagery in this town, the character becomes more and more unhinged until at the end he's pretty much an insane, fucked up, crazy person. That's a different metamorphosis than Breaking Bad, but it still kind of is a downfall type of title. I'm sure there's other games out there that have that as a theme to them. It's hard to think about it. I mean, some of the best games that we've seen are games where you have a transition in the main character. Like, I remember original Bioshock, when they have the reveal there about, who you are, what you're there, and what you do, and, and then it's like, oh shit, I've been doing the wrong thing this whole time. Fuck.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be totally worth it. I just think that you'd have to have a good way to have somebody start as to start as a likable character and still shooting a bunch of people. I don't know. It would probably be something that would work better for if you had a really popular franchise that you were able to do more. You were able to do more iterations of the game as time went on. Like, it would be the sort of thing where I think one of the things that's great about Breaking Bad is the fact that it took 5 seasons to get to that point. Like, if you just have an 8-hour game, that's less than 1 season or something like that. And one of the best things...
Yeah, it would have to be a franchise, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. All right, next email is from Drake. Drake says, Jeff, knowing how you feel about horror games, I wanted to know if you could design your own horror game, what would it be like? Also, you should totally have a show where you guys play competitive games against each other. Maybe bring in Nick or Kevin every once in a while. You call it Arena or something. Well, anyway, just a thought. Thanks for the awesome content. Best of luck going forward, Drake. Yeah, Jake, we're going to be trying to do more multiplayer stuff. The biggest problem we've had with recording with like Nick and playing video games is that there's a lot to record all at the same time. It gets kind of complex, but I don't know. We might be able to get around that in the future.
I'll be up for it. Yeah.
We could see. We're coming on this holiday season where we have plenty of multiplayer games to play. So, but I don't know. I want to throw that over to you, Nick. What would you think about if you could design your own horror game? What would you do?
Ooh. Well, I think I've said this before, but I'd love to play a horror game where you are, like, let's say, the ghost, or if you are like the zombie. I know there's the Stubbs the zombie or whatever it is, but I'd like to play if you're playing a zombie game where you're the first zombie and you actually start the apocalypse and you're doing all these horrible things, or like you are a ghost and you're trying to scare people, out of the house and just to recreate horror situations that you've seen in movies time and time again. So instead of you being the protagonist protecting the blonde chick or whatever, you'd be the antagonist going after people.
Yeah, kind of reversal. We've seen, I guess Stubbs the Zombie kind of did that, but it was much more like
tongue-in-cheek.
Right.
I want to see it like more hardcore, gruesome, that kind of thing.
You could have it. Did you mention? I'm sorry. Did you mention a game where, like, if you played you make like a game that was like let's say like a Friday the 13th game, but you play as Jason Voorhees, to make it like a first-person game where you have to stalk like kids and like maybe make it so that they can run faster than you. So if you try to they can outrun you. If you let them get away, they'll totally get away.
You see, I don't think that they would allow you to release a game like that because you're killing innocent people all the time. Whereas if it was you're a ghost and you're just trying to scare people, then that might be okay. Because, like, if you can make the walls bleed or, just show them the most horrific stuff. Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. You release a game where you kill innocent people, make it M, I bet people would still get it.
I would buy it, yeah.
I've always wanted to have a game where the game itself, fucked with you. I always had this idea of having, like, a horror game where kind of like what they did in Dead Space 3, but with a lot less action to it. Like where it's like, okay, so maybe you and I and like 2 other people are playing this game, and you've got a goal where you have to get from here to here, and there's like monsters around, but then use the multiplayer thing in really like creepy ways, where like if you've got like voice comms turned on, then maybe like have like one person's voice comes, you start hearing like whispering in your ear telling you crazy shit. And you're just like, are you guys hearing this? And they're like, we don't know what we're hearing. What are you talking about? None of us hear that shit. Or like maybe have a thing where if people split up and go to different rooms, then like maybe you have like monsters kind of Silent Hill 2 style that are walking around, but then at some point maybe the game switches one of the other characters' models so that they look like a monster. So you see this monster and you're like, oh, fuck, and you shoot it. And then like when it hits the ground, it turns back into one of the other people that was on your team. And you're just like, oh, what the fuck? No, that was Jimmy.
I don't get scared when I'm playing horror games with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I only get scared if I'm in a room by myself and it's completely dark and I've turned all the lights out and stuff, because then I'm more immersed into the game.
Well, see, but that's I guess what I was thinking of doing is co-opting the idea of other people into into the game, like using. Okay, so you know what I think could be one of the most horrifying things you've ever seen is I know. You know, you're sitting in the dark, you're playing a horror game by yourself, it's really spooky and stuff. But what if you were playing a horror game that was where you were playing it co-op with other people that had specific goals that you had to accomplish, right? And you're in a fucked up situation or environment or whatever. But use something like if you got a headset on and you got voice comms going on, like use those voice comms to, like, you know, if you're playing the game and you're trying to talk to somebody and then you're over there and the game is silent for a second and then there's just this fucking voice in your ear that's like, you're all gonna die. You know, like, just like using things like in Eternal Darkness, where you use like the sanity effects, where there's weird shit going on and you're not sure whether the game is broken or whether you've got things like have somebody lag out but then make that a monster. I don't know. I feel like there's really creative ways to do horror, and I feel like a lot of horror games these days have fallen into the same 2 or 3 things that they do over and over again. Stuff like Slender, or stuff like Dead Space, Resident Evil, that sort of thing. Either shooting a bunch of monsters or you're running away powerless and then the thing jumps up in your face. Whereas to me, up until very recently, the scariest game I'd ever played was Silent Hill 2. Or no, it was, well, Silent Hill 2 and Fatal Frame were both really good horror games. Silent Hill 2 because I didn't know what the fuck was going on in Silent Hill 2. And it was just like, this is so, what? And Fatal Frame because at the time, Japanese ghosts were really scary, and they made you let them get right up in your face. But I tell you what, I found a new jam when it comes to scary horror games, Nick.
What is it?
SCP Containment Breach.
Well, I haven't had that game.
SCP Containment Breach is fucking. I'm actually, now that I've said that, I have to wait until Friday to release this podcast because that'll be the day that it comes out. But so I'm gonna skip some questions here, and I'm going to talk about this for a second because I think this is fascinating. So people have been asking us for a long time to play SCP Containment Breach. When you play SCP Containment Breach, you have an inventory. You have a stamina bar that determines how fast you can run. You can interact with the world with the mouse button. And then you've got a button, you've got a meter that controls when you have to blink your eyes. And when you blink, you can either blink or you can hit the space button to blink naturally. But what the game starts with you in this room with this creature that will kill you if you're not looking at it. So you have to try to get away from it and not blink. Because if you blink, it's like the Weeping Angels in Doctor Who. It'll just flash up to you and break your neck right away. But the thing is that SCP Containment Breach is a free-to-play game, and it's about this facility that houses, like, threatening monsters and shit. So it's not just this one monster. There's other monsters, and they all have a different way of murdering you. And they're all really spooky, and you don't have that much power in the game. You're just trying to get the fuck away and get out of this place. It was really effective. Like we were screaming like little girls, and it was great. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. It's free to download?
Uh-huh. And what's interesting is that it's actually, I didn't know this when we played it. I found out later on. It's actually based on a wiki, a horror wiki, called the SCP Foundation. SCP stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. And what this is it's a website that was started off of a 4chan meme, SCP-173, which is the enemy I was just talking about. And this website is full from top to bottom with user-created horror entries into a database about this fictitious organization, the SCP Foundation, and their goal, which is to scour the world for these monsters and artifacts and things that could potentially destroy mankind and contain them at all costs. And so they have these military-style reports about how when this one particular thing got out, here's what the containment procedures are for this thing. Under no circumstances are you ever to come within blah, 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 blah. This is where we found this thing or person or artifact or whatever it is. This is what it does. This is the event reports for when things happen in the past with it. And there's 1,000 entries on this database, and a lot of them are really, really good. They're really fun, little, well-written kind of horror short stories. And the thing has been around since 2008. I had no idea that it even existed. Now it's crack. I got to read them all. I've read maybe 30 of the like 1,000, and they're all really good. So you guys check out the SCP Foundation. I'm going to put a link to it with the video when we put that out because it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Hey, you got me into it. I'm going to check it out after this podcast.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Give me just a second here, Nick. Vamp. What have you been playing recently? Talk about that while I got to weed out some of these questions real fast because we only have time for like 2 more.
Well, the only game I've been playing recently was Beyond Two Souls, and just been enjoying the hell out of that. I mean, like, I was a huge fan of Heavy Rain, but I can understand why some people aren't too into it because it's not exactly a player-friendly game. You know, it's more just immersing yourself into the story and taking that into account. Playing the hell out of GTA 5. I must have finished that game like 2 or 3 times already.
What?
Just like
2 or 3 times? Why?
Yeah, because I want to do the heists differently. You know, like you can make different choices and stuff.
Okay. All right. I got 2 more questions here that we're going to go through real fast. Number 1 is from Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson says, "Hey guys, with the new console generation getting closer and closer, I'm starting to buy games that won't cross across consoles to add to my collection. Are there any games that you would recommend that I need to have on the current consoles before the new systems take over? Classics, if you will. Thanks, you guys, for everything that you do, and I really enjoy the puppet skits, Mr. Watson." This is a very open-ended question, Mr. Watson, because you need to furnish us with the complete list of what you already have, what games you already own. So I don't know. Let's go down.
Last of Us.
Last of
Us has to be a game to buy. I think it's probably one of the best video games of the PlayStation console.
Okay, well let's try to think over the whole. What do they call that? The greatest hits. It's been 10 years. Let's try to think of. In my opinion, it's easier to list off franchises than it is to list off individual games. So I'm going to say. Let's get the easy ones out of the way. The easy ones that are cheap to pick up and good to play. Mass Effect. You can get the all 3 Mass Effect games and as much as DLC as you can for as cheap as you can. Those are good.
Absolutely.
Assassin's Creed. 1, mostly 2. You could probably if you want to play 1 and 3, that's fine. They're not terrible games. They're just not as good as 2. But all 3 of the 2 games to me are extremely good. Let's see, what else do we got? You know what? I'm just going to look down the PlayStation 3 Greatest Hits collection. Okay, you know what? Let's just talk about games that were awesome this year. I'm going to think a Game of the Year list. Red Dead Redemption, obviously. Really good. Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5, the Grand Theft Auto series, good. Dead Space 1, 2, and 3, all good. Batman, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, real good. Come on, Nick, help me out here.
You're just naming the ones that I would pick. This is really an open-ended question.
Yeah.
It's quite tough.
What was the one I was just thinking? Demon Souls, or Dark Souls would probably be one of mine. I'm just trying to think of Game of the Year games I've played. Skyrim.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yep. If you've got a PlayStation, Metal Gear. Actually, you know what? Now you can get that Metal Gear Solid collection that has all of the Metal Gear games in one package.
Good point. Yeah.
Which is if you have a PlayStation 3, you can get that whole thing for $30 or $40, and that's a great collection. If you got an Xbox, the Gears of War collection, Gears of War 1, 2, 3, and Liberation or whatever the latest one was. Let's see. Halo. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Halo in the world, but you probably get Halo remastered, and then 2 and 3 and 4. I think 3 is actually free right now. Bioshock Infinite, good games to get. Call of Duty, you can kind of sift through those and see which ones you feel like getting. But, I mean, if you've never played Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, I still feel like that's the best one in the series.
Do you think he's meaning specifically for the consoles? Because you can get those games on the PC as well.
No, that's what he said. With the new console generation getting closer, I'm starting to buy games that won't cross across consoles to add to my collection. Let's find out. Let's do some others here. Rainbow Six, blah 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 blah. Portal 2, yeah, Portal 2. That's good ones. In the same realm of Skyrim, Fallout 3. if you get Fallout 3 with all of the DLC.
Skyrim. Mm-hmm. Definitely. You need to get Skyrim. Oh, wait. Skyrim's on PC. Shit. Okay.
I already said that. Skyrim's also on the consoles. Yeah, it's Skyrim on the consoles. Let's see. I'm going to go over to the Xbox and find some more Xbox stuff that I'm missing. Xbox 360 best-selling games. You know what? A good way to do it is go to Metacritic, and then go to Metacritic and sort by console, and then sort that list by top to bottom ranking for a year, and you will get a pretty good list of stuff. Let's see: Gears of War, Halo, Call of Duty, the Fable series. At least Fable 2, I hear, was really good. Forza. To be honest, we've had so many trilogies and so many sequel series this year that I think that would probably be the perfect place to start. Start with Assassin's Creed. Start with Call of Duty, Mass Effect, Gears of War. Just the stuff that has had 2 or 3 iterations that have all sold really well. That would probably be where I would start. And then from there, just look up Metacritic and see what the top rated stuff is. And then go find lists of like the most underrated games, like little indie games and stuff like that. You can do those as well. So. You can do a lot worse also than just getting like a PlayStation Plus account and just downloading all the free games that come out on PlayStation Plus or on the Xbox Gold. They're starting to put out games there, even though they're kind of crappy. All right, one last question before we go. This one is from Vova. Vova says, "Hello, Jeff." And I'm going to say Nick. I'm going to put that in. A lot of people are saying now, "Hello, Jeff," and "other person." So, hello, Jeff and Nick. Love your videos and your podcasts. I've been a fan since the old days. My question for you is, would you watch a feature film rendered fully in-game engine with cinematics and awesome graphics instead of a Hollywood movie version of the games? Okay, this is obviously not English as their first language. I would pay money to see just a Batman feature made in the Arkham Origins engine like this scene. And a bonus question. Oh, well, this is for Jason. So, loyal fan of the dojo, Vovo from Europe. I also played Payday 2 with you. Oh, one of the people that did that. Yeah, what do you think, Nick? Would you go to the, like, say they took a really good looking game engine and they beefed it up even more, and it wasn't just like watching somebody play a game, but it was like they used gameplay sequences to fill in between cutscenes and had the production values,
Would it have to be an existing film, or could it be like a film that I would love to see, but done in a, video game style?
Well, I think the question is, would you watch a film rendered from the in-game engine? Well, I guess.
Well, I do. I mean, like pretty much during Metal Gear Solid 4, you're watching a lot of cutscenes.
Sure.
You still enjoy it, so yeah, I don't see any reason why not.
But I guess like, would you pay to go to the movie theater to see something like that? Like if it was,
hell no, it would have to be something like online, or maybe buy on DVD or rent or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They've done it once. I mean, like, what was that Final Fantasy film that came out ages ago?
Oh yeah, Spirits Within. Yeah, but
that was pretty much a video game.
Yeah, that was a big mistake, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was a good idea. It was just a shitty story.
I honestly think that if they wanted to do that, I would rather see them try to make a video game movie like that than I would with them doing live action. So I think that would be. I would much rather see the game companies that have experience, like say Uncharted. I would rather see the people who made Uncharted use the game engine from Uncharted, beef it up a little bit, so you didn't have to have it running on a console, and make a movie with Nolan North and the people that they use, instead of giving it over to some Hollywood director who's like, well, what we really need to do is we need to just rewrite this from the ground up and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, they have done it. Like Resident Evil has a couple of CGI movies.
Yeah, they're not really exactly the same,
based
though.
on the games.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's
one thing that's bothered me recently, I was looking at news for the Dead Space movie. I got the writer from Street Fighter or something. Mm-hmm. The movie Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
it was either Street Fighter Attack or something. It was like a really bad film, and then getting him to write for Dead Space.
Yep, the Legend of Chun-Li. Yep.
Yeah. Like, just, why?
Yep.
It kind of writes itself, doesn't it? Like, the concept of Dead Space. It's just like the film Alien.
It depends on. See, I think that once again, we've had a conversation a lot of times about movies and video games. I think that you get into a position where you're like, just the raw guts of Dead Space, you could probably make a movie from. But what's going to happen is that you're probably going to get studio people who are like, well, nobody just wants to watch this guy Isaac repair a ship and shoot these things for an hour and a half. We need to have a love interest, a love triangle. So we're going to inject this terribleness into the movie. Yep. And so that's pretty much all we got. It's all the questions we got time for today. I'm trying to, cut us down to a slightly more reasonable size because last time you and I went for like over 2 hours. I guess now we're at about an hour 30 minutes, but folks, that's going to be the end of the show today. Nick, thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to ask this again, not to put pressure on you, but have you got any more traction on anything that we need to pimp out to the folks listening at home?
Well, yes. Well, right now I'm just still working on the same project, but now I've got myself a new laptop and I got myself a new editing software, so I'm back on track. So hopefully I should have something.
All right. All right. Well, you let us know when you got it. We'll put it out there for people to see. In the meantime, folks, we still need your questions to do the show, so send them to mail@rageslike.com. There should be a link below. I finally put one in there. Holy shit. What? And then I got a lot more questions. I was being obstinate for a while there. I was just like, link, just type it in. What are you, lazy or something? But yeah, there's totally be a link on the website below this. Send us in your questions. And we will totally get them on the next show. Now we're starting to get more questions, so we get to choose from the ones we have. Let's see. Over the course of next week, we're going to probably be having an entire week devoted to Batman. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. But we'll see. And then coming next month, we're going to start rolling out some brand new things here on the website. I'm going to start trying to live stream, so you might want to take a look around, see if you can find my Twitch channel, because I'm probably going to be randomly popping on it just to play some games from time to time. So we're going to start trying to do a little bit more live stuff. We might be having a few giveaways and things coming up pretty soon. So, yes, once again, mail@rageselect.com is the address. And until then, Nick, have yourself a happy Halloween, and I will talk to you next time.
Oh, thanks very much. Can't wait.